Hi, friends, and welcome to the channel. This is a podcast where I share my insights, and my name is Ryan Abear. And today I am discussing the difference between a compulsive, addictive wanting and an enthusiastic desire. Once you overcome the illusion of the ego, it doesn't mean you stop desiring anything. It just takes on a different quality. So stick around, and I hope you'll listen to what I have to say about the difference between compulsive wanting and an enthusiastic desire. I've heard that desire is the way God communicates to us. And that's an interesting way of phrasing. This is how we communicate to ourselves. And we also communicate to ourselves through addictive craving. And both of those are a kind of wanting. Now, if you've ever struggled with addiction, and I have, so I know what it's like to have your fix. And what's so weird about wanting alcohol or wanting a cigarette or wanting comfort foods is that they don't calm your nerves. A cigarette calms your nerves in a kind of way that makes the craving return. And the same can be said about alcohol. You want a drink. The body, the flesh, the mind just has this power over you whereby you want alcohol, you want the pornography, you want the scrolling, you want it, but you deeply do not want it. And that's what an addiction is. It's wanting not to want. And that would be called a double bind. Wanting not to want. And worrying is a perfect example of addiction. That we falsely believe that worrying comforts us, that we are living with uncertainty in a very intimate way. Everybody's living with uncertainty. There's nobody, even the most calm and serene and equanimous person, is still living with uncertainty. It's just that some of us have learned to actually lean into the uncertainty and trust it. So you never lose this sense that you're not alone. You know, a lot of people who experience the loss of loved ones can feel their presence. So you feel the presence. And I don't like to use this language, but let's call it the presence of God. Or presence in general. Like, somebody is here. Something is here. I'm surrounded. Something I can't quite understand is with me. And it's so intimate, it is me, right? And some of you will kind of understand what I'm talking about, that we're afraid to be alone with our thoughts. We're afraid to be alone with our own company, that we don't commune with ourselves. And this perpetuates addictive behaviors like worrying. So if you're addicted to worry, in the same way you might be addicted to a cigarette or addicted to alcohol, you know the vicious cycle. There's no pill for you. And you will keep worrying as a means of security. So you're going to worry about money, you're going to worry about health, you're going to worry about the government, you're going to worry about your parents, you're going to worry about everything. Is a form of addiction, which is comforting. It gives your mind is busy doing stuff. And so we have to be very compassionate with people, because that is a false sense of security, or a false sense of comfort, in the same way that so-called comfort foods will comfort the obese. My mom says she is a stress eater. So she goes to the kitchen and eats and puts things in her mouth as a means of pacification. But it only makes her more hungry, because it's ultra-processed food. There's no nutrition, there's no sustenance, there's no sustainability, there's no fulfillment. And so one of the most important things to recognize in yourself, and this happened to me, is that I was exhausted from worrying and suffering. The alcoholic wears themselves out. Some people do not. Some people die from alcohol. They literally drink themselves to death, or smoke themselves to death, or do drugs into the grave. They never recover from the addiction. And one of the most fundamental aspects of addiction recovery is the strong and sustained commitment to change. This is where spiritual teaching comes in. If you are one of these people that are tired of feeling empty, you're tired of chasing, you're tired of being left out, you're tired of fearing, these things begin to wear you out. Worrying literally kills you. Of course, you're dying anyway. But worrying seems to make you empty, in the same way that eating greasy Chinese food every night makes you hungry. So that it's a sign that something's off. If you're suffering a lot and you just worry and worry and worry and worry and you're fearful, something's not in balance in your life. And you have an addiction. You're addicted to thinking. That's one thing. And you're addicted to wanting in that same way. So a lot of us are not committed to changing ourselves. We are completely lost in changing our circumstances. That's where all of this, it's like the alcoholic who just knows that a drink will calm their nerves. And it doesn't. It makes it worse. It might take the edge off, but deep down inside, you know it's not a true medicinal thing. So you'll have to get to this point, and you probably are if you're watching a video like this. You get to the point where you realize worry is not serving you, and that you can't quit cold turkey. I was watching a YouTube of Tom Holland speaking about this. I mean, you think, Tom Holland, this guy's got it all. He's gorgeous, whatever. And he was talking about how he realized he was drinking too much. And he had a very boozy December and was going to do a dry January. And he realized that in the month of January, he was struggling. He just was fighting. His body wanted to drink. He was fighting. He was in this conflict. He's like, God, this is bad. This is really... He noticed something in himself. In the same way that you might notice something in yourself about wanting to worry or wanting to stop worry. Something awoke in him, and then he extended it into February. He said, and it still was a struggle. I still thought about it all the time, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, well, maybe I can wait until my birthday. So it took him 6 months before the craving went away. So, spiritual revelation and spiritual awakening will involve fasting of some kind. You're going to have to show yourself what you can do without. you're going to have to show your brain that what you're worrying about is not real. Okay, let's take being alone, for example. If you're ready to stop worrying, you must, and you're afraid to be alone, which is a form of worry, you have to sit in a room alone by yourself. You have to expose yourself to that until the tremors stop, until oh my God, I want to get out of here, I can't stand this, until it just goes boom. You know, the cravings are really important to know that they will subside. Why do you think that the spiritual masters fast? I mean, Jesus fasted for 40 days. I would be starving after 40 minutes. But I've fasted before to see what it's like. And you are starving and your body's like, feed me. But then it goes, it stops. And so you can override the hunger by keeping yourself deprived. So that's called the withdrawal period. So in order to kind of lose your craving for having a boyfriend or lose your, I gotta have this, you'll have to expose yourself to being okay without it. So whatever you think you need in a compulsive way, let's say you have a compulsive need for a paycheck. A lot of people are addicted to paychecks and they think they have to have a paycheck. And when people like me come along and say, there's nothing you need, they get pissed off. The truth often will piss people off. You don't need alcohol to deal with your problems. See, that'll piss people off, you see. Addicts and the ego, people are not ready to admit the addictive qualities of the ego, are not ready to admit they don't need it. You don't need alcohol. There's nothing in this life you really need. And so you'll have to show yourself that you can be equanimous, peaceful, and happy without it. I've been without a paycheck now going on 3 years, and I'm happy as can be. My resources are running out, but I have to show myself I can be okay being broke. It's fine. You can be broke. There's no such thing as stoppage. Usually when you get closer to depleting resources, you will find some turnaround point. Nobody ever hits a brick wall. There's no flat earth. The earth keeps going. It just looks like it's going to stop. You have to show yourself. And sometimes you have to get a little bit closer to scary circumstances. Like, how long can I go without a cigarette? My grandmother did that. She put her cigarettes, many, many years ago before I was born, she put her cigarettes in a cookie jar. And when she had the craving, she went to the cookie jar and said, I can wait 5 more minutes. Just like Tom Holland. I'll go another month. Let me see how this works. I'll be in this calorie restriction. I'm a little hungry, but let me see if I can do this. So you can overcome craving. And when you overcome craving, you discover a different kind of desire. A kind of desire where you just want something for the sheer enjoyment of it. And you realize that there is no need. There's no gotta have it. I need this and I need that. Oh, okay, I gotta have this. It's everything that you really, truly desire simply because you want to enjoy it. And then you realize the frivolity and luxuriousness of it all. My friend Wes says it's all gravy. So why do you need more gravy? Nobody needs gravy. Eckhart Tolle calls it the cream on skimmed milk. You know, it's just the frothiness. It's what we think we need is just pure froth and fluff and frivolity. That's what happens when you overcome your cravings for gotta have it, needful, clingy kind of compulsive desires. So to train yourself to be free from worry would be to sit in a room quietly and notice when the mind is quiet. That's it. You notice the intervals, the space, the silence. You wait 5 minutes before you take that cigarette out and think, I can wait 5 minutes. Or you notice how long you can go without thinking of the future or thinking of money or thinking of that thing you got to have. And then that space widens until that awareness of how your mind is worrying to comfort itself, it stops doing that to you. So this is a process. So becoming more enlightened is treating suffering and craving and wanting and needing as an addiction. Once you're in recovery and you realize, oh my God, I don't need to have 6 months worth of expenses in my savings account. That's excessive. Truthfully, you can have 0 and you'd be all right. Many people could just have 0 and figure out how to turn it into something. That's how resourceful we are. So you're just going to have to get a little closer to the things you're afraid of to realize you are not in need. And so this is how you learn to trust what's uncertain. Takes a while. But again, you have to trust that you can get along fine without your cigarettes, without your vices, without your clinginess. Oh, I gotta have it. I can't be happy unless I have a girlfriend. I can't be happy unless I have this money. I can't be happy unless I have a paycheck. Oh, gin and tonic, gin and tonic, gin and tonic, cigarette. It's all leading to more craving. Worrying is not comforting you. Comfort food is not comforting you. The only solace and comfort is first being committed to changing yourself, not your circumstance. Then investigating these moments where the mind leaves you alone. You can't make that stop, but you can notice when it does stop. And somehow that gap, that interval grows. And in it, faith arises. Faith is a kind of foreknowledge. And anxiety, worry, paranoia, and fear of the future are kinds of faiths. They are. Fear is a kind of faith. And you'll understand that when you see the broader perspective of uncertainty and how uncertainty makes certainty possible, and they fit together in a kind of knowledge called faith. And there is no absence of knowledge anywhere. So that substance is what we're trying to connect to. And the best way to commune with yourself and to connect to enthusiastic desire, enthusiastic meaning entheo, in God, those desires are playful, they're luxurious, you don't need them, you can do without them, they're just kind of cool. You see? I wanted to make a YouTube channel because I think it's cool to talk about. I love talking about this stuff. So your desires become a means to do something joyful. That's enthusiastic desire. So we've got to get our way, we got to think about our desires and think, how clingy are we to them? How demanding are we with ourselves with them? How much do we think we need them? You must be shown that you don't need them and you have an addiction. And getting what you want is only going to make you more hungry for what's missing. And what's missing is true communion with yourself. And then in that unity, you develop something called immunity. Immunity to fear. Fewer and fewer things scare you. And in the Bhagavad Gita, we are always reminded of this, that even the smallest attempt at spiritual work will relieve you of your greatest fears. So if you're committed to change, this is the first step in overcoming an addiction of compulsive wanting and transitioning into enthusiastic desire, which is a whole hell of a lot more fun. My name is Ryan Abair. I hope you enjoyed these insights. And if you have, please check out my blog. It's called mymorningmotivator.com.